Welcome to the Sports Hangover. I'm Michael Benatar, joined alongside J-Dog.
Mike, this is our favorite show of the year, not because it's our final show of the year, because it's our Sportsradamus prediction show, and we're both so good at it.
We are good. If you go back for the last 14 years, I think we've predicted some hot takes for sure. I remember I predicted the COVID lockdown, and people would be watching all the games from home. There'd be no.
You didn't call it COVID or a pandemic, but you did say people would stop going to games and start watching everything. And for like one stretch there, that was so true. There was no fans in any stands for 2020.
So I think let's recap some of our wins, because this is what it's all about. We like hyping ourselves up so you guys know how good we really are. Do you want to kick off some of your wins?
Let's talk about this, Mike. So I went back on the last 14 years, listened to all 14 podcasts of our predictions. And so I've been busy preparing for this. It's like Santa in the workshop. There's a lot going on here in the lab as we prepare new predictions. First of all, just to set the stage, this is how good we've been lately. In 2021, you said Russell Wilson would be the loser of 2022, and he was.
He was.
In 2021, I said that ESPN would hire a play-by-play man from outside the company to save Monday Night Football. And they did with Joe Buck. So that's kind of setting the stage. That was 2021 into 2022. But then I went back to last year's episode, and everyone should really do it. Maybe they won't, but I did. And I nailed two amazing predictions. I want to tell you about. One is I told you in December that Jon Rahm would win the Masters in April, and he did. The guy won the Masters, and I just told you straight up, Jon Rahm would win the Masters.
Jeremy, you got to give these out for bets so I can bet these ahead of time if you're going to predict the future here.
He had to be like 30-1 at the beginning of the year for the Masters, so that was a huge one. Another one, Mike, and I'm just going to keep going here. I said Tom Brady would be embarrassed, upset in the playoffs, probably by Dak and the Cowboys, and then retire.
Wow.
That's exactly how Tom Brady's whole career ended. They got blown out against the Bucs in the playoffs. And then finally, this one is another crazy one. I don't even know how this happened. We recorded this like January 1st, before the NFL playoffs started. I had the Chiefs beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl before the playoffs ever started, Mike.
It's pretty good. You're good. I mean, this is why people come to the show. This is the best show. Sportsradamus. There's also t-shirts out on the website if you want to get some swag for Sportsradamus. You can get it there and rock it. I mean, we should just, you know what we should do? List all of our predictions for 2024 on the t-shirt. I think I'm
gonna like an extra large shirt, because there's a lot of things to list as good as we've done. What did you get right recently? Did you go back and listen?
So yeah, I went back. I had some recent recap wins here. So I said the scandal of 2023 would be some sort of AI scandal involving a high-profile person, and I think I nailed that. If the OpenAI AI founder went into a little scandal, got booted from his company. Maybe not as big, but definitely there was a scandal, right? So I think I nailed that one pretty close.
You nailed it, and you could probably say that again, because we're bound for more AI scandal in the new year.
The big one, I had food news for 2023, and I predicted non-alcoholic beverages would take over in 2023, and they did. They had the biggest market cap growth in their category out of all beverages, and non-alcoholic, it's taken over. I don't know if you've had some non-alcoholic beer lately, but I have had quite a bit. My wife's loving some what's it called? Some Corona 0% alcohol, as she's,
I saw her sipping that last week. I was like, damn, she's drinking Corona while she's pregnant. But now I find out it's no alcohol in it. Okay,
no alcohol. So it's booming. I also had BDE of 2023 would be YouTube and YouTube TV. And I think I hit that pretty right. We didn't know at the time, right, that they were going to get the NFL package.
We didn't know. We thought maybe Apple, maybe Amazon. It was Google, and they made our wildest dreams come true. You didn't leave your house on an NFL Sunday this year, right?
No, I have not yet. Not a lot of people have been hosting football either. It's been very Sundays. No one wants to hang out on Sundays. So it's been a weird
we know you made a $500 investment, so we didn't want to pull you out of your lair for that.
And then I had a 5-year prediction. This was back in 2021. I know we haven't hit 5 years yet. Some of them hit a little early. I said big banks would lose huge market cap to crypto. And I think that's what happened when all the banks failed this year. All the banks failed. They had to save
Silicon Valley Bank. The people were lining up outside the ATMs, right?
Yeah. So that was a little bit of scare. And then I said the housing market would be the most expensive in history. And currently today, if you buy a home, it is the most expensive in the last 40 years since trying to buy a home. So pretty much nailed that. A lot of things came a little sooner than predicted, but we hit them pretty good.
I love how you nail the bad ones. You nail the pandemic. You nail the housing crisis prices. You nail the AI scandals. You're nailing some tough ones. they're probably all to come true again. There's a few that you also had last year that maybe you didn't list. I just wanted to share with people a few other predictions that you had last year. Not sure if you're going to remember these or not claim them to be yours. One of them was Tua Tagovailoa won't be in the NFL in 2023.
So sometimes you don't put those in there when they're not wins. So he's still in the NFL. He's doing good. That could be a 5-year prediction.
On the wrong side of history, but anything could happen. He just hasn't been hit hard enough, and the jiu-jitsu's working so far. The other one that Mike said, and this was especially appropriate on the night of December 20th when Twitter was down. I don't know if you knew this. Like a week ago now, Twitter was down that night for several hours. I went to Down Detector, and I was actually in the comments of Down Detector, and it was acting like Twitter because the comments were real time, but Twitter was down, so people were like posting their thoughts, and it's like, oh, this works too. But anyway, Mike said in our prediction show last year that Twitter will be bigger and better and more profitable in 2023. So that one didn't age.
That one didn't hit. Listen. He's taking it in a different direction. Things are going weird. People are still using it. You still go on Twitter. It's not like you found another resource.
I don't want to. Well, no one's found the new town square, as Elon says. But that's just a TSF. Like, we're both really good at predictions. Is the point. So we're about to enter our 2024 predictions. I'd say 40 to 60% of these will definitely come true.
I hope so. So I don't know how you want to kick it off. I just have a list of, like I said, hot take predictions. That's what I listed. And then I have some I have who the president's going to be, the World Series, the NBA, hockey, and the NFL. So I have all the champions.
I hope for the president, it's not the two front runners. We can start with that if you want.
Yeah, we can start with that. I am predicting RFK will be the president. We saw recently Donald Trump just got booted out of Colorado. No one can vote for him, but supposedly that's just like a way to slow him down, I guess. Biden losing his mind. So we have like two candidates no one really likes, no one wants to vote for. RFK, nice little middle piece. The voice, a little tough to get by, but if you just kind of like listen to little bits of him, I think that's who you vote for, the middle independent candidate there. So
it is the TikTok election, and so TikTok clips under 60 seconds, his voice won't wear you down. I would support RFK for one reason and one reason only, because he's married to Cheryl Hines from Curb Your Enthusiasm. She also is the second biggest celebrity to ever go to UCF after Daniel Tosh. We both went to UCF, so that hits close to home. For us, so that's why I would support him. But way to start with a very hot take.
Hot take. Yeah. All right. So what do you got? We can do the World Series and all that after too.
Okay, I'll go a little more sports centric to the Super Bowl. So last year I told you the Chiefs would beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I'm calling my shot again, and really this was done for me when the Super Bowl poster art came out. It's going to be the Ravens 49ers in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right here before January 1st that is our Super Bowl matchup.
Jeremy, I love that. I actually have here for the Super Bowl winner will be San Francisco. I think that's a great matchup. I don't see any other teams getting by. The AFC, I mean, weird things happen. Baltimore could lose certain games, but I do see San Francisco's road pretty clear right now, and that's who I'm betting on. I'm putting money on it. Once my MVP money comes in, I'm getting like $500 from that bet. Going to put it all on the Super Bowl for.
Well, you're going to be really disappointed when McCaffrey wins MVP and your Brock Purdy doesn't hit.
Not winning.
Let me ask you this: Who would change their line in the Super Bowl more? So say it's Ravens Niners in the Super Bowl, but then someone has a big injury the week of the Super Bowl and the line moves. Does the line move more for McCaffrey being out or Brock Purdy being out?
It's tough. I mean, how much do you value each player? So if each player is worth a point, does it just change by a point? I think the public perception will change it more, and the money might come flooding in on one side. But I don't think you can value a player more than like a point and a half. So I think I would say equal on both sides. And we saw it last year when they brought in a backup, when he broke his arm, his elbow like dislocated, couldn't throw it anymore. We saw how valuable he really was. So hopefully he's all good this year. He's got a bionic arm now. He's ready to go.
You're right. He had internal brace surgery. More on that coming up later in the show.
Okay.
Mike, what I would say about that is the Niners need to have a bus of quarterbacks outside every stadium they're playing in this year in the playoffs, and just bring them all in ready to go as they get hurt. Because we can't get into that situation of last year where we had no one able to pass the ball in the NFC Championship game. And it was on your birthday of all things.
It's terrible game.
I got one for sports scene of the year. I'm just getting ahead of this right now. The sports scene of the year has already been determined. It's going to be in Paris, France. The opening ceremony of the Olympics, it's going to be so special on the Seine River. That's a place where me and you have both spent magical times together.
I think it's the Seine, isn't it?
Is it the Seine?
I think it's the Seine.
Get
Yeah,
that right. Well, you're the Frenchman.
It's okay. Yeah.
Upon us, but they are going to do the opening ceremony with every country on a boat. Every country gets their own boat, and it's going to go by the Eiffel Tower. And as you go by the Eiffel Tower, they introduce you. So instead of the arena, walking around with the flags, it's on the river, Paris at night, Eiffel Tower. It's going to be amazing. That's my scene of the year. 2024.
I think they're also opening up the river for swimming, for public swimming, supposedly. That's what
public swimming?
Yeah, because you're not supposed to swim in it, and I think they're going to open it up like a little section for public swimming. I will say, do you not think this year, where the Super Bowl's in Vegas, right?
It is.
I feel like that could be a top contender for some, like, one of the sports like scenes of the year, just because it's like it's meant for an activity like this, right? We saw F1 kind of crash and burn, not do very well out there. Super Bowl in Vegas, the week leading up, it's gonna be wild out there. We might be out there 2 weeks before the Super Bowl and get a little bit of the vibe. Maybe do a little, our first ever video on YouTube was Man on the Street back in 2010. Maybe we bring it back for the Super Bowl out in Vegas this year.
I love that idea for 2024. Get the pulse of Vegas right beforehand. And that is one of my next predictions. You let me right in. Great segue. Yeah. The Sphere will blow your mind. And that's what we're doing a few weeks before the Super Bowl. We're going to the Sphere. It's going to blow your mind more than the birth of your child is one of my predictions.
Wow, the Sphere will blow. Okay. Wow. I'll let you know the rating scale once both happen. So yeah, okay, that's a big one.
It's one of my predictions. Yeah.
I just listed hot takes. I was like, I can't categorize all these. They're all over the place. It's from TV to sports. But I'm gonna start with my longest standing one that I wrote down when this show was coming up back in November. I was writing this down. I said, I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if Zach Wilson can do this, but Zach Wilson will be a superstar on another football team next year. He will be a starter, and he will be playing, and he will have a resurgence just like Baker this year, which I also said Baker would have a great year at the beginning of the football season. And no one believed me. You laughed at me. I think if you can go back to that, you literally laughed at me. I do think Zach Wilson will have a great time on another team that really wants him there, because they don't want him there right now.
I'm laughing at you again right now. I can't believe you're saying this. I can't believe an NFL team will give him a guaranteed contract for next season. Maybe he's already under contract and the Jets will trade him. Maybe if you're talking about like the new XFL, USFL for the Birmingham Bandits, like, yes, I can see him making plays for the Birmingham Bandits. I cannot see him making plays for any of the 32 NFL teams.
Listen, I just said he'd be a star and a starter on another team.
You said star, not just starter. You said star.
He could be anywhere. We'll see.
I like that one. Very hot.
USFL all merge, so we'll see if that happens too. That's a big one. What else you got?
I got one. Speaking of Thursday Night Football, which we've seen a lot of, and Zach Wilson has been on way too much in primetime because they scheduled all these Jets games. Al Michaels, who's turning 80 next year, it's going to be his final season. Maybe that's not surprising. It's his final year under contract, and he's 80 years old. The surprising part is it's against Al's will, and Al is going to have some public comments where he's upset that it's his last season on the NFL, and he wants more opportunity, and he's not going to get it anywhere because he's that bad now, and his energy has dwindled that much. So I think there's going to be a little controversy as Amazon moves on from Al after the season, and Al has some comments where he's not happy.
I did have that written down as one of my predictions that Al will no longer, this will be his last broadcast year for the NFL. I think he's just out of it. He's not into it. He's not having a good time. This is it for Al. And he's not doing, you're saying he's not doing the Super Bowl, right? Or one of the wild card games or something like that?
I'll never do another playoff game again. I mean, Amazon isn't doing playoff games and no one else is putting them on TV. So Al's, we can put him out to pasture. It's a great run, Al. Thank you for your work since the 1980 Olympics, the Miracle on Ice. You've been amazing us and hinting at betting lines ever since. And we thank you, but betting is mainstream and you're 80 years old and it's time to move on.
Do you think that sometimes it's kind of like Tom Brady, like that last year, he didn't have a great year and we kind of knew it. I feel like sometimes people just got to tell you, like, look, you've had a great career. This is it. Like Aaron Rodgers, he should have just gone. He should have just retired and he would have been the greatest QB ever in Packers history. But everybody just wants to continue on and they realize like Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles the first play of the game. I think some stuff like this, people got to let him know. So hopefully people let other people know that like when your time is up, you gotta just leave on top. Don't leave on the bottom. because that's
You know
hard.
what's great? You know what's great? No one's told us that on the Sports Hangover
Not
we've
yet.
stayed too long. No one's told us that. So we still go into year 15. Here we charge on. Lou Holtz, one of the legendary football coaches of all time, he once told me, always leave 1 year too early instead of 1 year too late. And that's something,
true.
if you look at Bill Belichick, if you look at Al Michaels, if you look at certain quarterbacks, we can apply that throughout history. You mentioned Tom Brady, so I'm just going to jump into my next one.
Keep going.
Because
Keep
you really
going.
set me up here. I love the setups today. Tom Brady will kick Greg Olson out of the #1 Fox booth. And Greg Olson, so upset about the demotion, will leave Fox. Maybe he goes to be a Panthers coach like he's hinted at. Maybe he goes the Jason Witten route, go from a tight end from the booth straight to high school football. Maybe he goes to another network because I think he is really good on TV. So maybe he jumps to another one. I think Brady's coming in and Olson's going to be pissed about it because he's been doing such a great job.
So I thought Brady, they got out of that contract. Was there a way that he could extend it? I thought it was like last year he had to be, he like kind of
the
said
contract
no.
was pushed down the road, so it didn't start this year. It's scheduled to start next year.
Now I see Brady, he's doing some podcast. I don't know how good they are. Have you seen him with like Gronk and stuff, those clips online?
Yeah.
I don't know if Brady's gonna be the guy. Like I could see him in like where Gronk is right now, like at the studio, hanging out, not calling the game, like just hanging out with the guys like Terry, Gronk, you know, all those guys in studio. That's where I think Brady should be. If that was my prediction, that's where I'd put him. Do not put him in the booth. I don't think that's where he wants to be because you don't see him. The whole point, you want to see Brady. You don't want to hear.
But the studio shows, they're so much easier. They sit around
Sure.
for an hour. It's all scripted. You speak in your 10 or 15-second soundbite, and the next guy speaks, and that's kind of how it rolls. The game, you can't script the game. You have to adjust. You have to telestrate. You have to analyze. I think Brady's expertise and his football mind is most appropriate on a game, but he doesn't have the Gronk energy, the Gronk enthusiasm, the Gronk likability that kind of you need. And so if he's too dry and very X's and O's, I don't think it'll work. Like we love Tony Romo's little weirdness, right? Like that's kind of fun.
Now, could we see him on a show that is similar to what the Manning brothers do? Kind of a simulcast on an alternative feed. Tom Brady's sitting there hanging out, maybe doing some sort of show, because I think that could work where it's more casual, not calling the game play by play. Also, I don't know if you watched Manningcast recently. Sometimes there's awkward stuff. Like I feel like Eli doesn't know he's on TV sometimes, and Peyton's like kind of guiding it, and then they like all both don't talk and just watch the game. It's very awkward at times. So I like the idea of it, but it is hard to execute, I think, unless you're like really, you gotta have somebody like leading the pack there on TV. But maybe Tom Brady does something like that.
It's also not working for me in general. If I want to watch a game for a specific team or a fantasy player because of a bet, I want to watch the broadcast. Very rarely am I going to watch it on Manningcast when they might be talking about other things. Recently, 2 weeks ago, Tua was playing the violin or the guitar on the Manningcast. What does that have to do with the game I'm trying to watch? And I'm a Tua guy, right? And it's still kind of like, what's going on?
But I do like it when it's like a game you don't really want to watch and you got a little extra entertainment on the side, like
maybe it gets you to watch the games you don't want to watch. Maybe that's the purpose of it.
All right, I mean, I have some more if you want to see. This is a combo. Now we've seen recent news of maybe some companies merging together, but I think this is kind of all in one. I think streaming's going to change a little bit next year. Now we saw recently HBO might buy Paramount, CBS, Viacom, whatever pieces they buy from that. That one's going to go together. Then we can also see maybe a Peacock get purchased or bundled up into something else. I think there's going to be a lot of merging, downgrading into a lot of stuff. But then my real prediction here is that streaming will be at an all-time high. I think Google TV or YouTube TV will increase the price of NFL package. YouTube will increase the prices. Everybody will increase pricing because there's less options out there. And they're like, well, you have these 4 options, and I think this is where it's going to go. And if this HBO deal goes through, Warner, Discovery, whatever you want to call it, if that goes through, we're only limited to a few options after that, right? We have like Hulu, Disney, we have Warner, Discovery, Paramount, CBS, Showtime, HBO, all in one. And then we have Peacock out there and Netflix and maybe a few other like Freevee and Tubi and all that stuff. But I think there's going to be a consolidation of streaming, and prices will increase because of that consolidation for sure.
That consolidation will probably be pretty good for the consumers like us. Hopefully. Because right now we're paying for a lot of different apps. The content is distributed in a lot of different places, and it's hard to kind of be organized and know, oh, this show's here. Like right now, perfect example, I want to watch Paramount shows. I'm not adding Paramount Plus right now. I'm on like 5 or 6 streaming services as it is. So if they bundle it with Max, that would be great. We're very early in these discussions of Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Paramount. Paramount is a distressed asset. Paramount needs a life preserver because it's going to drown in the ocean. If not only do they have $15 million of debt, no one watches CBS shows. They care about CBS Sports because of the NFL.
I think it's billion, not million.
That's right. $15 billion of debt.
And I think
they have the NFL. That's all that matters.
And I think they're only valued at like $9 billion right now. So it's like one of these companies will scoop it up. Maybe Amazon. Somebody's going to buy these assets, and it is going to consolidate a little bit. What I would like to see ultimately is where it's almost like, when we like the NFL, why can't the NFL just give us something where we can watch all NFL? It's similar to like all these RSNs, these local broadcasting rights. I think that's a little bit scary too. I think broadcasting rights, if all the local networks all decide, hey, we're only going to broadcast this locally, then you're kind of out of luck. And now all of a sudden you have to like go subscribe to local broadcast, and it could fragment. I could be totally wrong. It might not consolidate. These local broadcasts could just fragment out, and it's like, oh yeah, if you want to watch Dodgers, you got to subscribe to our Dodgers network to watch this, and that will be a pain for a lot of people, and I think will hurt sports. So hopefully they don't go that route, but I do think that as a viewer, make it easier. It's never been easy. I've been a cord cutter since like 2014, something like that. Like I have not had TV. It's gonna be a pain if you make it harder for people. And Netflix is the dominant one. You see them buying all the TV shows, and all of a sudden they're stars. And like Suits. I've been watching Suits. I never watched it on any other. I didn't even know where it was before, and now I'm a Suits guy. So who knew?
And we'll see if Netflix gets into live sports. They've hinted at maybe the in-season tournament. That's not on my predictions list. I'm not ready to go that far, but maybe at some point Netflix does invest in more live sports. They've done some one-offs so far. You brought up a few points there I want to touch on. One is, you're right. It's like pretty easy to watch national games on streaming or TV, whatever you have, whether it's YouTube TV like we do, whether it's certain streaming services. What's hard, you're right, are the individual sports. And that is what's in so much trouble. And this is another repeat that I had on last year's show. And it's a trend we don't talk enough about. It's the collapsing local rights with Diamond Sports, with Bally's. And that really touches on so many MLB teams, NBA teams, NHL hockey teams. And right now what's happening is so many of these Bally's is not paying out their contracts, and they have to give the rights back to the teams. It's happening in baseball. It's happening in hockey. It's about to happen in basketball too, where they're giving the rights back because they can't afford it anymore. And then it's up to the team to try to monetize it out of nowhere. And what is that affecting? I think it's going to affect player contracts. And so we're still seeing teams like the Dodgers give out record amounts of contracts. But my prediction truly is some teams, we're seeing it in baseball with some of the smaller markets in Cleveland and Seattle and Arizona, they might not be able to spend as much because their TV contracts fell apart out of nowhere, because Diamond and Bally's fell apart because they make it so hard. I told you the story before where I can't watch Shohei Ohtani on the Dodgers, even though I pay for YouTube TV and I pay for MLB TV just because I live in LA. I don't have their Spectrum network. Like you say, it's like a Dodgers network that's like over the top. Don't matter what you pay for, they make you pay for it more. So that's a huge issue. I think it's going to affect contracts, which is a real problem for the athletes.
This one also kind of goes with the TV thing, but I think Apple this year will get a piece of NBA or the NFL, whatever piece that is. I don't know what it is, but they're definitely going to get a piece of it. Either they buy CBS, Paramount, buy whatever, they buy that part of it. But I think they're going to get a piece of it. I think ultimately we're seeing kind of a shift of a lot of stuff, and we're going to see the networks no longer be where we watch everything. It's going to be the tech companies. And I think it's a lot of weird stuff's going to happen these next few years. So I think Apple, I don't know what's going to happen with TV. So yeah, I think Apple buys it because they do not care how much money they spend to get the rights.
The surefire prediction of the podcast, 100% sure to come true, is what you just said. There's a lot of weird stuff that's going to happen in the next few years. That's bound 100%. To happen based on the last few years, based on the last 100 years. Like there's some shit going down. You're right. Apple will have bigger sports streaming than just MLS. It's a great entry level deal for them, but Messi isn't truly getting it done. And so we know they need more. And LeBron and Patrick Mahomes, those two sports that you said, NBA and NFL, make the most sense. I think the easiest way to get into that is not signing a new huge deal to broadcast these. It's what I've been telling you for a while, to get a piece, whether all of it or a piece of ESPN. And ESPN is going to direct to consumer in 2026. We know that is coming. So that's not a prediction. It's a fact. They're moving in that direction.
Yeah.
The prediction would be that Apple continues getting involved with Disney and ESPN Plus. Does Disney, does Bob Iger sell the whole damn company to Apple? You're skeptical of that. It's something I've thought about. I'm not ready to say it as on a prediction show. What I will say is Apple and ESPN become more tightly aligned in 2024. So maybe all ESPN sports, maybe some of them do stream on Apple TV.
I like that. I do think it's hard though, because I think Apple has a certain way they like to display things and want it to be viewed. And I don't think they want a piece of ESPN. It's almost like now ESPN is a button on the thing and you can watch all the games on there, and ESPN like streaming app is no longer accessible and you can only get it through Apple TV. Something like that I could see happen. But yeah, they're definitely going to get some sort of rights. I don't know if ESPN's the way, or other these all the companies seem to be selling off rights right now just to get a little bit of money. So yeah, I mean,
sports rights got really expensive, and they all pay so much for NFL and NBA now that like everything else is like, I don't know who's going to stream these because we pay so much for big sports.
All right, let's see. Well, this is a good one. I'm going to predict that Draymond right now is indefinitely suspended. I'm going to say he never plays basketball again. He's done, out of the league. Make a point. You're out. You beat up too many people. You got suspended, and you're out. Now, I don't know if that's going to be true. I don't follow basketball that much. I almost call it baseball. But I'm just going to predict he doesn't play again. He's old, right? Shouldn't he retire at some point? Like this is it for him.
That was really nice of you to get an NBA prediction in. Help the basketball fans get through the show. We don't talk a lot of NBA at this point, but you got a Draymond in. And you're right about that, I think, because Steve Kerr is not really supporting Draymond Green at this point. You expect the head coach to always support the player. And Steve Kerr came out and said the guy needs help. The guy is always involved in these things. And so for Steve Kerr and the Warriors organization to kind of turn their back, I think you're probably going to be right on that. I love that prediction for the new year.
What else you got? I got a few more, not too many, but I do have a few more. Do you want?
I have a few more as well. I'll do this one. A little talent move in the new year, and it's a pretty big one for ESPN, who we've been talking about. Stephen A. Smith's contract is up at the end of 2024. He's on a 5-year, $60 million deal right now, and I think by this time next year, by the last week of December 2024, it's out in the public that Stephen A. is leaving ESPN. He will not sign a new contract, and he's going to go out on his own. We've seen a little bit of this with his YouTube show. I think he continues building that. Maybe he gets into a deal with a more lucrative tech company like we're talking about. Maybe Apple or Amazon pay him for a talk show at some time of day. But I've got Stephen A. leaving ESPN. It's a little bit the reverse McAfee, where McAfee went out on his own, built the empire, then came to ESPN. I think Stephen A., who's getting paid much less than McAfee right now, wants to kind of build that empire. Maybe he comes back one day, maybe not, but he's going to go build.
I think it's hard if you're so set in the ways and you haven't really built anything. And I know Stephen A. does like radio, does all this other stuff, but I think it's hard for somebody that's been a company man for so many years to all of a sudden go out and do something else. Now, we've seen it with Tucker Carlson, and he's out there, he was a company man and now he's trying to start his own little network. I don't know if there's enough people out there, and maybe there is, to support that or want to view it. And I think you kind of fade away a little bit. Now, we saw it, your dad always says we're better than Jim Rome, and he kind of faded away. We've never seen him again. Like, is he on Showtime anymore? I don't know.
No one knows if Jim Rome is alive, if he's making shows. Like, truly, no one can answer that question for us.
Yeah, so Jim Rome disappeared. He was on TV, and now he's no longer there. And you see that. And I'm not going to, I'm not dissing Ryan Russillo, but he left ESPN or I got fired. And now he's on the Ringer, and I don't think he's as
I don't think he got fired. Wait, let's clear that up.
Did he not get fired?
Listening. I think he wanted to move to California. ESPN wouldn't let him, so he made the move on his own, which a lot of bright, talented sports personalities do make move to LA.
They do. That is right. I mean, great spot to live. But I do think that you kind of fade away and you become a niche. And if that's what you want to do, I think it's good. But if you're a guy like Stephen A., in 3 years, you could just fade away, because I don't think ESPN still holds the same value that it did when we were in college. Like, our college kids these days turning on like Get Up in the Morning or whatever it's called and watching.
No, they're firing up TikTok and IG Reels, right? That's how we're consuming content. And if it's over 1 minute, I get bored and move on. And I'm sure the college kids are even quicker than that.
And that's why we have clips everywhere too, because no one wants to sit around and listen to our 40-minute
1 minute of our faces only.
Yes. All right. I have two more. I have Brock Purdy. He's going to win the MVP this year. That's already predicted. Got a lot of money on it, so I want
that
that.
one came from your sports book bet.
Yeah, that's my sports book bet. And then I thought we're going to see, now you see it a little bit here in LA, but I think it's going to be more nationwide. I do think we're going to see more non-alcoholic bars pop up where there's little drinks, non-alcoholic cocktails. I saw it a ton in Hawaii, a lot of non-alcoholic cocktails. I think there is a movement now with the younger Gen Zers. They're not drinking. Well, they're not doing a lot of stuff. They're not drinking. They're not having sex, and they're just not going out. So
what are they doing? Are they playing video games? Are they stuck on their phones? I feel like they're not communicating. They're not leaving the house.
They're not doing anything. It's going to be a very awkward phase when they reach their 40s. But then
when the MetaQuest, Mike, that's going to change everything because you can talk to people, you can have sex, you can do everything by yourself on the couch. You don't have to.
Yeah. Once that Apple thing comes out, I'll be all over it. But yeah, I think this could be a movement, and I think there's room for that in big cities where people are trying to fade away from alcohol, and you can see it a lot more now. So those are my two. Then I also have who's going to win all the titles this year, if you want me to list those.
Save those for the end here. Let me run through a few of mine. And by the way, shout out to Justin Gay, who is our mead expert, our summer food and drink expert. He will not like your prediction of less alcohol. The guy's a big mead business. He's a big investor, and he's not going to like that one. A few more that I have for you. Because I told you Rom won the Masters, I feel compelled to give another Masters prediction.
Give it to us.
In this show. I'm not going to give you a name, but I'll give you a type of person. And it's going to be a live player. You're going to love this one. A live player will win the Masters. And that now covers John Rahm, by the way, after he went to live and got his 5 hits. It also includes Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau. So maybe it's unlikely, but I'm calling that shot early.
I love that. Okay, a live player will win it. I like that. Are they allowed? They're allowed to play in the Masters, right?
They're allowed to play the majors, the Masters, but not the PGA Tour events. Maybe one day. That we covered that in a recap show. One of the scandals of the year, the PGA Tour live. We spent some time on that. A few more predictions before we get your year-end winners, which I'm excited about. Dodger Stadium. We talked about baseball a little bit. They signed Shohei Ohtani. Dodger Stadium will sell at least one type of beer for more than $30 in 2024. We're going to go check it out early in the year. Go see Shohei. We're going to take a look at all the concessions. We're going to stand in line for 45 minutes for each one, and we're going to find the $30 beer. You heard.
I think we're close. I think the beers, aren't they like 18 or 20 something? They're expensive already.
And they're going up. We know they're going up.
It's not too far away. Now they have to go from like a 12 ounce or 16 to like a 24 ounce to really make it worth it.
I feel like they don't always do that. They have to pay Shohei is my point. And like their TV contract might be falling apart like all the others. And so it's going to come back to us consumers, unfortunately. My other Dodgers related prediction is they won't win the World Series, even though they signed Ohtani to $700 million. I'm calling that right now. Ohtani will not deliver a World Series to your neighborhood in 2024.
That's weird because I have them winning the World Series. I basically have LA sweeping all the titles this year. The Kings are playing really well. The Lakers won the in tournament. So I'm like, all right, can they go all the way? I don't really know, but I'm putting them as a championship contender here, and the Dodgers win the World Series. I just want a whole city to win it all. We kind of had that a little bit. Almost. Did the Dodgers almost win the World Series that one year when the Lakers won it? Like it was back to back kind of.
They almost did, yes.
I want something like that to happen. And Rams, obviously, the Super Bowl champ will be the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, that's not LA, but it's California. No. So I'll give you that. This is like your version of never leaving the house. You'll never leave LA to watch all the championships.
No, we're not leaving. Yeah.
Is what you're going for. Did you say the Kings? I didn't think the Kings were that good.
Yeah, the Kings are playing pretty well. They got a young roster, and I think this is like Doughty and like Kopitar. Like this might be their like last shot at actually doing it. I think Doughty's retiring at the end of the year. So I think they're kind of making an effort. They got a young roster and they're playing really well, and they're like leading the division. So I think Kings could do it. So it'll be a fun little spring, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for some spring playoffs.
I love it. There's going to be playoffs all over LA, hopefully. My last prediction, this is not earth-shattering. It's a little outside the sports world. I want to add a little culture here. Sure. Maybe it'll get our listeners to think a little differently. Maybe a little New Year's resolution as we begin the year here is the biggest travel trend in 2024 and going forward is international travel. And I need everyone listening to close your eyes right now and picture a place where you want to be. Whether it's exploring, whether it's a great resort in the Caribbean, whether it's skiing in the Alps, whatever it is, think about an international destination in 2024 and then plan on going. Because in 1990, Mike, there's a stat I saw recently. Only 5% of Americans had a passport. Today, at the end of 2023, the number is 48%. We've jumped from 5% to 48% passport holders in the US in our lifetimes. International travel is hot. There are deals to be had. There are places to go. We're coming out of the pandemic. We're coming out of all these negative things. We might be entering another negative thing with the 2024 election, as you talked about on the top. So go international. Hope you're inspired for that in the new year.
I have one 5-year prediction. I couldn't think of many. I took a lot of my 5-year predictions. They already came true. So I'm like, oh, I'm out of 5-year predictions. But my one 5-year prediction will be, I think AI generated news anchors and faces will take over your feeds on TV, on social. I think you won't know the difference between us doing the show and an AI generated version of us, but there are already some really good beta versions of this where you can generate AI faces talking. I think this is going to take over and it will help other companies expand. And I mean, we recently saw, what's that company that was doing all the AI blog
Sports
writing?
Illustrated had the AI headshots for fake Raiders.
And the CEO recently got fired, but I do think this is a wave of where people will start to utilize AI more and not need to hire talent in a way and just hire these people that just say the news to you. And it's doesn't really matter if you have a personality or not. It's just we want to hear the news from somebody. I do think this is coming and I think it's going to be coming fast.
I hate the prediction. I hate that we're going down this road. I hate that SI started this. I hate that we might not be hosting this podcast in 5 years and avatars of ourselves might be.
Could be.
Mike, I enjoy this time with you. And to think that it could be taken away and replaced by AI is very sad.
We could have a third member of the show just be AI and just kind of spit us facts or something.
Giving us facts and topics to talk about, the ones that'll generate the most downloads. No, I think it's terrible. I think you're not wrong because private equity is going to come in and we could say this is a prediction on my end, and maybe this is a way for your prediction to come through. Private equity is going to come in and buy local news, maybe buy big time news, like say Disney wants to spin off ABC News or Paramount wants to spin off CBS News because they can't merge with Warner Brothers with it. Maybe Warner Brothers gets rid of CNN because they can't merge with it. Whatever it is, private equity will come in because no right mind will come in and buy these distressed assets. Private equity comes in, and what do? They make everything profitable for as cheap as they can. And I think an AI newsreader is much cheaper than a real life human who, these Good Morning America anchors, they all make 20 to 25 million a year.
Crazy.
A year. Michael Strahan is making 25 mil a year just for Good Morning America. That won't happen when private equity comes and wipes out news, which is concerning. But to your point, you're probably right about that prediction.
Well, I also think the way news is going, I think it also has to consolidate, but it's also a chance for smaller companies like the Sports Hangover to be a news source to people that are out there that want something a little different, maybe different takes. We're allowed to say anything. We don't have a corporate backer, right? So we can do whatever we want. So I think stuff like that is going to slowly inch in. And I think it's also to a lot of stuff. YouTube, I think, is also a really big thing that's going to continue taking off and people are going to utilize a lot more. And that's why I love that we're on YouTube, and I think it's going to be really big for us. So
I love that we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. We have clips, we have full shows, we have swag. We're really a multimedia company. We're a big business at this point. My final prediction, Mike, is that in 2024, the Sports Hangover makes more money than we've ever made before. And that's a little peek behind the curtain. Wow. But here we are. Here we are to monetize this shit. So thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends to subscribe. Consume our content on all the socials. Comment. Everywhere. Mike will personally respond to all of your comments. It's like a celebrity free little thing that we offer, but Mike will actually respond. And thank you for supporting us. To all of our listeners, viewers, we have people of all generations watching from all over the world. And it's pretty cool that we've been doing this for so long and we have all these fans locked in.
Yeah. And this is our 14th year. So we're going on. It's going to be a great time. And we're going to put out a lot of shows, a lot of new content on your way. We're going to experiment with a lot of things. So I'm excited for this year. And Jeremy, this is the end of the show. And we'll be back in the new year in 2024. Can't even believe it.
Happy New Year, Mike.
Yeah. Happy New Year. All right, Jay. See you.